Hello and welcome to the West Asia Post with me, Ghadi Francis. This is our weekly show where we bring you all the latest updates and stories from this part of the world. I will start my show today with a question for you. What do you do when you fall in love? You tell your family, maybe your friends, but not in the occupied West Bank in Palestine. Here, if you fall in love, and that too with a Palestinian, you must tell the IDF, a bizarre diktat that has since been withdrawn after major backlash. But that's not all what Israel has been slammed for recently. Nearly 4 months after Shireen Abu Akleh's killing, Israel says a soldier might have accidentally shot the Al Jazeera journalist. Now this claim has caused the US to ask Israel to review the IDF's open fire regulations. We tell you more about this.
In Israel, a controversial new rule has been making headlines. If you fall in love with a Palestinian from West Bank, you will have to tell the Israeli government. All foreigners must declare their love interests to the Defense Ministry. But that's not all. If they marry, they will be required to leave after 27 months. This will be for a cooling off period of at least half a year. Foreign passport holders will have 30 days to declare their romantic relationship. They will also have to declare if they have or will inherit land. This was part of Israel's new strategy. They plan to tighten rules on foreigners living in the West Bank. But this plan faced massive backlash, so much so that Israel had to withdraw the rule. But it isn't the only bizarre diktat Israel had. They are also making it for Palestinians with foreign passports to travel to West Bank. They will have to apply for a visa 45 days in advance. They may not be able to fly into Tel Aviv's airport either. There is already an Israeli ban on granting residency status to foreign spouses of Palestinians. This means thousands continue to live with an uncertain legal status. Ironically, these rules are not applicable on Jewish settlers living here. West Bank was occupied by Israel in the 1967 war, but out of the 3 million people living out here, many are Jewish Israeli citizens. The Israelis living out here are called settlers. They live in the West Bank but are citizens of Israel. These settlements enjoy widespread backing among Israelis, many of whom view them as a religious, national, or strategic necessity. Israel cites historical and biblical links to the region. Many Jews look at it as an integral part of the biblical land of Israel. Over 460,000 Israeli settlers reside in the occupied West Bank. There are around 130 officially recognized settlements. Israel says these settlements were built on vacant or unused land. But Palestinians claim the land is often bought from them using middlemen. Most countries view these settlements as illegal. But that is not all Israel is being slammed for. The IDF has admitted that a soldier may have shot Shireen Abu Akleh accidentally. Akleh is a trailblazing Palestinian reporter who was shot dead while reporting nearly 4 months ago. Her killing was a shock to many and a reason of conflict for the region. Why? Because her death is mired in the Israel-Palestine conflict. There are several claims and counterclaims about how she died. The bulk of the evidence says it was IDF gunfire. Israel, however, denied all such claims. They first blamed it on Palestinian militants, then said they would probe the killing. And now it looks as if it was IDF fire after all that killed her. But Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has refused to prosecute the soldier.
I hear the claims to prosecute IDF soldiers following the death of Shireen Abu Akleh. I hear the claims to change our open fire policies. Israel expressed sorrow over the death of the journalist. This is a tragedy that happened in the middle of an incident in which heavy fire was fired by terrorists. The IDF never deliberately shoots at innocent people.
The US also called on Israel to review its rules of engagement. The State Department said it will press Israel to review its policies. Lapid has ruled out any such change to IDF's open fire policies, saying it is only Israel who will decide if the rules change or not.
I will not allow an IDF soldier that was protecting himself from terrorist fire to be prosecuted just to receive applause from abroad. No one will dictate our open fire policies to us when we are fighting for our lives. There's only one person who determines the instructions to open fire in the army, and he is sitting here, the Chief of Staff. Our soldiers have the full backing of the government of Israel and the people of Israel.
Shireen once said her life was shaped by the Israel-Palestine conflict. Her mother was born in West Jerusalem before the creation of Israel. She graduated from university the year the Oslo Peace Accords were signed and was an inspiration for Palestinian journalists in the region. Now, even in her death, she is shaping the same conflict that defined her life. West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
From Palestine to Qatar, Iraq and the UAE, we have a lot more lined up for you in this edition of the West Asia Post. But first, as usual, let's take a quick look at what else is making the headlines across the region.
The United States military says it flew a pair of nuclear-capable B-52 long-distance bombers over West Asia in a show of force, the latest such mission in the region as tensions remain high between Washington and Tehran. The UN's nuclear watchdog has said it could not guarantee the peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear program, saying there had been no progress in resolving questions about the past presence of nuclear material. The Gulf countries have demanded that streaming giant Netflix remove content deemed offensive to Islamic and societal values in the region, as they seek to regulate television content produced outside their jurisdiction. In Yemen, the Al-Qaeda is rising due to the security vacuum caused by the war. 20 separatist fighters, backed by the United Arab Emirates, were killed in an Al-Qaeda attack in the south. An Israeli air attack on Aleppo airport in Syria's north has damaged the runway and taken it out of service, according to the Syrian state media.
The violence that Baghdad saw last week was the worst Iraq has seen in years. A week later, Muqtada Sadr's followers found themselves abandoned. They are under fire. Now the guns have fallen silent. Splits are emerging in the Sadrist movement. In our next report, we tell you all about the battle for Iraq's green zone.
When Iraq was on the brink of the civil war a few days ago, there was only one man who could stop it, the 92-year-old Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani. The cleric said nothing in public about the war, but insiders say it was Sistani's stance that halted a meltdown. Iraq witnessed its bloodiest week in nearly 3 years. but the violence shows the limits of traditional politics. In a country where power to start and stop wars rests with clerics. The Iraqis on the streets blame Tehran. They think he was sidelining Iraq's most popular politician. It all started with a resignation. Iraqi cleric Muqtada al-Sadr said he was quitting politics. Why? Because of Baghdad's political deadlock. Sadr's political bloc was the largest in Iraq's parliament. They had 73 seats but no majority. So in June, his lawmakers resigned. They could not cobble up a coalition, so they hit the streets. But on Monday, Sadr dropped a surprise. He announced his complete withdrawal from politics. Sadr's followers tried to storm government buildings. By nightfall, they were driving through Baghdad. All in pickup trucks, brandishing machine guns and bazookas. Violence took over the streets. At least 30 people were killed. Baghdad turned into a battle zone. And then, within 24 hours, it was over as suddenly as it started. Sadr returned to the airwaves and called for calm. His armed supporters and unarmed followers left the streets. The army lifted an overnight curfew, and a fragile calm descended upon the capital. On the outside, it looked like it was his own decision, but reports suggest an intervention by Sistani, one who has never held formal political office in Iraq, but presides as the most influential scholar in its Shiite religious center, Najaf. According to the officials, Sistani's office ensured Sadr understood his stance. If Sadr did not call off the unrest soon, Sistani would denounce the unrest. They made it clear to Sadr, Sistani would soon speak out unless Sadr called off the unrest. This would have made Sadr look weak, as if he tried to cause the bloodshed in Iraq. Sistani's intervention may have averted wider bloodshed for now, but it does not solve the problem of maintaining calm in a country. Iraq continues to remain in a political turmoil. Sadr insists on new elections. While Iran-backed groups want to press ahead to form a government, the government has been largely silent. Unfortunately, all the factors of civil war are present. There are tensions between parties, there is a power struggle, and the abundant availability of weapons. If the political deadlock persists, things could get bloody again. What will happen next? Only time will tell. West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
Qatar's 2022 World Cup is less than 100 days away, and fans have something more to cheer about. Qatar will allow alcohol consumption in select zones and stadiums. A 40,000 capacity fan zone has also been confirmed, where alcohol could be purchased. Now, this is a first for the Gulf nation, where alcohol consumption is highly restricted. We tell you more.
Fans with their glasses of beer, cheering for their favorite teams, thronging the streets and shouting at the top of their voices. This is a common sight at the FIFA World Cup, football's biggest festival. But in Qatar, this year, it will be a very different experience. This is a country where public intoxication is illegal, so the usual sight of boozy supporters is unlikely. Football fans here can only drink in certain places and must respect all Islamic customs. Most of the drinking will take place at the official fan zones. or at licensed restaurants or hotels in the Gulf nation. Qatar is still finalizing its alcohol strategy, but they have announced their plans to allow fans to drink within the stadium. Ticket holders will have access to drink options. This will be prior to kickoff and after the final whistle. Inside the stadium ball, ticket holders will only be able to purchase non-alcoholic beer. FIFA is also offering hospitality packages. They start at $950 and soar to a whopping $4,950 for a group match. These packages include alcohol and other perks. So what will ordinary fans have to go through? Once they find a bar, they will be looking at some steep prices, about $10 for a pint of beer and $20 for a cocktail. They must also recognize their euphemistic language, one that is used to buy alcohol in the Gulf nation. Instead of beer, fans must ask for hops and grains. Wine is known as the grape drink. And if you want a sparkling wine or champagne, ask for a bubbly. In 2011, Doha authorities temporarily allowed alcohol at restaurants. This was only allowed for its upscale Pearl district, which is mostly frequented by foreign residents. But after complaints by Qataris, the authorities clamped down again. In recent months, restaurants have again been allowed to apply for alcohol licenses. But it was done discreetly. The issue continues to remain a taboo. Those who do serve alcohol have to follow the rules. So how strict are authorities likely to be with boozy fans? Under Qatari law, it is an offense to be drunk in public. Organizers hope that fans respect the rules and be moderate in their behavior. Currently, the authorities are preparing for any and every scenario. There are 8 stadiums within a 70-kilometer radius. With most fans staying in Doha, there is potential for trouble. However, organizers insist they are prepared for all eventualities. West Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
Climate change. The world is confronting it, but West Asia is bearing the brunt of it. From heat waves to droughts, it seems like West Asia is in the forefront for climate change. But some countries are trying to tackle it artificially, like the United Arab Emirates. The UAE is turning to cloud seeding for artificial rain as demand for water shoots up in the Gulf nation. We tell you more.
A twin-turboprop aircraft takes off under the burning desert sun. Attached to its wings are salt canisters. On ground, officials scan weather maps. They are looking for cloud formations on their computer screens.
Cloud seeding is considered the second hardest challenge for pilots. When there is a cloud, we try to figure out the way we need to go in and out of it in order to avoid thunderstorms and hail.
The United Arab Emirates is one of the hottest regions on earth. It is also the driest. The Gulf nation receives less than 100 millimeters of rainfall a year, so it is looking for a solution, and the answer is cloud seeding, a way to increase precipitation artificially.
Cloud seeding increases approximately 10 to 30% of the rainfall rate. Therefore, it increases water reserves, which is made available for the whole country.
Officials say they believe cloud seeding can help. So how does it work? The UAE combines shooting hygroscopic or water-attracting salt flares with releasing salt particles. They are fired into the clouds. This helps stimulate and accelerate the condensation process. 15 to 30 minutes later, down comes the rain.
Sometimes we see that the cloud has responded with a seeding operation using the nanotechnology, while other times we come back up again to release more flares.
The UAE is already grappling with the effects of climate change. Combined with a growing population and a diversifying economy, the need for water has shot up in the Gulf nation. Until now, the UAE has relied on expensive desalination plants, those that make use of seawater, but now they are turning to cloud seeding. Now, the other question that remains, is this harmful to the environment?
In terms of the effect on the environment, cloud seeding nowadays, at least in the UAE, just uses salt flares, and that's what you get in table salt on your kitchen table. So there's no actual harm to the environment. Traditionally, chemicals such as silver iodide, which mimics the crystal structure of ice, have been used, but they're not used in the UAE today. In terms of carbon footprint, the planes that that fly up into the clouds are just small planes, and when compared to the billions of cars on the planet and the huge planes doing international air travel every day, it's just a drop in the ocean in terms of carbon footprint and carbon emissions.
West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
Sometimes news is not just about politics or diplomacy. It is about people, about their stories. Our last story today is about the women of Gaza. They live in a strip overpopulated, dealing with domestic abuse and the drumbeats of war. So how do they cope with this? By staying by the sea till 2 a.m. at night. Take a look at how the women of Gaza are seeking to stay outdoors to cope with their problems.
Card games, horse riding, or even just sitting by the sea. These are the scenes in Gaza, where women are spending their summer nights outdoors. Their solace from the daily hardships in the strip. All day they wait for the sun to be gone. As soon as it sets, the women of Gaza escape to the sea. Some even return home at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., trying to stay out as long as possible.
I feel like women in Gaza are the ones who are responsible for activities in the touristic areas. The female element is more present than the male one. Women try to adapt and overcome the circumstances more than men.
The majority of people head to the beach. We live near the sea and going out is expensive, especially with the situation in Gaza, where basic human needs are not available.
You see these women laughing, but from within, they're devastated. Gaza's economy is crumbling. Its unemployment rate hit 47% last year. There are crippling power cuts every day. On top of that, there is always the threat of war. Adding to the trauma is the violence against women. Nearly 41% women in Gaza face domestic violence. In some cases, they even die from excessive abuse. An average of 22 women lose their lives from violence every year. In 2020, the number shot up to 38.
The general situation, whether it is the siege or the power outage, makes us want to leave our homes and go to a place where there's light and people can be seen playing some kind of sport like tennis or basketball.
Many also face criticism for getting home after midnight. Others are called out for not being veiled. But the women of Gaza do not care. The streets are crowded, they have company, and leaving their homes makes them feel human. A rare feeling in the Gaza Strip these days. West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
That's all we have for you on this episode of the West Asia Post. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup, bringing you more stories from this region that I call home. Until then, stay safe. I am Ghadi Francis, coming to you from Lebanon, and you're watching WION World is One.